Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to this show here with me. It's Bianca Buzea. I'm Ivy. I'm your host, and as we know that today, our topic is about developer relations, and I bring you an expert here so that we can ask the expert what is DevRel and anything to do with it. Now, Bianca, I get to know about you from DevRel Uni, and which I like it a lot, I benefit a lot, and I'm still staying within the community. And Bianca is currently the head of DevRel with LUKSO. So the topic today is what is DevRel? Let's get right into it, Bianca. What is DevRel to you, and how you get into this field?
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation, Ivy, and the pleasure to be here. I remember the cohort that you were part of. It was always a pleasure to have you in the class. You are always super engaged, and thank you so much. So coming back to your question, what is DevRel to me? Personally, to me, I'm coming from a background of teachers. My grandmother has been a teacher, my mother has been a teacher, but I didn't really want to go the traditional way, let's say, of being a teacher. So DevRel for me, it empowers me to be a teacher in a non-formal way, if you want. So that's my main motivation for embracing this career path.
What a coincidence. My mom is also a teacher, and then since young I have been you have a teacher in this in the family, you always get the kind of um it's kind of like in your blood that you want to share something, you want to share what you know. I'm glad to know that. It means this is a little bit the same with us, and probably this is also the reason why that I'm so interested into DevRel as well. So coming back to that, um, there is a lot of questions or discussions in the industry that what actually the role of DevRel. Is it about coding, showing the code, or is about product, or is it about community? And some even mentioned that there's something to do with the marketing. So to you as a DevRel, which part of this is the most important part, and how the second question is kind of related to this, is sorry for long questions, is which department do you think that DevRel should be under?
I really like the second part of the question. Starting from the beginning, indeed, I see it as the intersection, if you want, of this area. Like you have on one side, you have product. You're helping take feedback from the community and shape the product. You have marketing. I do believe this is an important pillar because people need to know about your product. Then you have the coding part, as you said, the engineering, if you want, area where it's important to really be able to understand the technicalities of the product you advocate for, and also to support developers with their questions and where they need help. And also there is super important the community part, where you really, as the name suggests, developer relations, you need to build relationships with your community. So I think all those are needed. But of course, at different companies, different protocols, you would see the emphasis more on one area versus the other. So some companies, for example, will want to hire a developer advocate that will focus mostly, let's say, on the marketing and community side, where others will want, for example, a documentation expert that will work on documentation a lot, or a developer relations engineer that will build different tools to support developers and interact with the community to help them wherever they need. So in a nutshell, I would really say that it depends how the company sees these roles and what they really need. The second part. So can you repeat the second
Which
part?
department? Sorry for long questions. Like based on whatever that we discussed just now, which department do you think that like DevRel should be under or should report to?
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you. Ideally, I would say developer relations should have its own department.
Yes.
Of of course, like again, different companies have different structures, but ideally, I see it as a standalone unit, and I think it's the most powerful way for it to develop. But of course, you need a team for this, and like not every company can have a team. Some of them start with like one individual. So I think this is like the best format in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that as well because I read quite a bit of articles or blog posts or even Twitter that people have been discussing that why DevRel report to marketing, and some said why DevRel report to the sales department, some even, which I think that like you said, like you mentioned, I do agree that DevRel is a special species by itself that it should have its own department. I like that. Yeah, thank you. You know, I do go round to ask about some people that is in the DevRel roles, and sometimes the feedback come back is like if you want to kind of get into the role or the team of the DevRel, the best way for you to do it is to get to know, get into the community, to know the people there and contribute. And once you're being spotted, then probably you are even being invited to join as the DevRel team. So I do totally agree with that because you already love the technology, you are already in there. But what if there are people that really want to get into to be the team, but it's kind of new to the community. So how to break that barrier?
I think again there is no one recipe for this. It really depends on the company. Indeed, like being part of the community and showing, basically proving yourself before you're even getting the job, it's definitely an advantage. And building relationships with the people who are working for that company or protocol. But at the same time, it really depends. Like some protocols will just like advertise the job, and they would see a really strong candidate, and they would be like, okay, this person, it's not in our community, but we've seen their work elsewhere and we really love this person's work, and yeah, we're gonna get this person. So I think it really depends, and it's a balance. But definitely, in terms of what helps, is showing the company where you want to roll, how you can help them, and how you can fill in the different gaps that they have, or how you can make their mission easier.
Cool. May you share a little bit of like your experience in getting to the role you are in now? That how you get into this role.
Yeah, that's a good one. So before starting in developer relations, I was a solutions architect, and I was doing still a lot of activities that you would normally put under developer relations. That's just like the nature of the roles. There are a lot of similarities. So, for example, I was writing articles, I was doing talks, I was delivering workshops and game days. Game days, it's a name coined at AWS for a gamified experience where you are inviting different customers or participants to build solutions with AWS services. and then you kind of challenge their environment. So you have some solutions architect, as I was back then, or trying to destroy, if you want, their environment, such that you're offering the participants a learning experience where they can be prepared for the unexpected. Basically, they are ready for anything. So it's a really cool learning experience. But yeah, what I'm trying to emphasize here is that a lot of these activities, you would also find them in developer relations. And one day I got a LinkedIn message from the founder of a Web3 protocol. He was like, hey, I have a job opening. I think you might find it interesting and it would be a good fit. I didn't have much knowledge about developer relations, to be honest, back then. But after I saw the job description, I was like, yeah, like I can see how this can resonate with myself. I can see myself doing this. I want to go on this path. A few weeks later, I think like 1 or 2 weeks later after that, the message, I went to eDenver. For eDenver, it's a big Web3 event where you have a lot of the community, Web3 community coming together, and there are different talks and workshops, and it's really an amazing event. Coming back, I was at eDenver, and I met there the Balancer team. That was my first DevRel job. And that was like, okay, it was a really great fit. So I ended up going with Balancer, not with the initial person that wrote me on LinkedIn. But yeah, that was basically, that LinkedIn message was what got me into developer relations. Probably I would have discovered it anyways, but that was the starting point for me at that time.
It's pretty accidental, huh? Yeah. So it kind of brought back a bit of my memory how I got to like very interested in this role. I just got into the technical writer with blockchain protocol as well, without knowing that, like, after much later, like few years later, that only I know, like, as a technical writer, it's kind of like part of the DevRel team. I think that time what got me in is because my experience in developing a curriculum for training. So I think that, like, which you say is very right. Something that probably just one thing that, like, we did that is what the company is looking for that got us into this role, the school. So well, the next thing I want to ask you is, like, as not only that, like, the skills that, like, we have is being spotted by the company that they're looking for some person like you or like me or like anybody else. What do you think that, like, there's three, if you can list three important traits in a person that would make a good DevRel?
Yeah, I think probably one of the, in my opinion, again, like this is leaves a lot of room for interpretation, and like different companies will look for different things. But in my opinions, some of the most important traits, if you want, are empathy, because you really have to resonate with the developer community that you have, and you need to be able to put yourself in their shoes and to kind of feel their pains, if you want. You also, I think, another one super important, it's curiosity, especially in the Web3 space, but like really in tech in general. Like there's the pace is super fast, and you really need to keep yourself up to date with the latest developments, with what is happening out there. So you have to be curious, because otherwise it's just impossible to do if you're not curious, and if you don't have that inner drive, if you want. And then maybe for the third one, I think networking skills and building relationships. It's super important. Again, coming back to the naming itself, developer relations. Sorry, developing relationships. It's super important. You really need to be able to build those relationships both with different stakeholders that you interact, but also with your developer community. So these three, I would say: empathy, curiosity, and networking or building relationships.
So it sounds like that whatever skills or knowledge it can be always be built. After all, like tech is changing very fast. So on the other hand, if there is one thing that like you would want to advise anyone who want to be in this role for long term not to do, like a bad habit that like a DevRel should not have, what would that be?
I wouldn't say. I would say maybe a very common pitfall, if you want, it's spreading yourself too thin. I would say, as a DevRel, you interact with so many departments, you interact with so many stakeholders. Everyone basically wants something from the DevRel department, and they can need your support to some extent. But at some point, you really need to prioritize and kind of push back the other initiatives, because there's the time in the day, it's limited, and you really need to focus on the things that there's that 80-20% rule. So there are the 20% that drive like the most results. So yeah,
It sounds
I think,
like yeah, it sounds like saying no is also a very important skills for DevRel.
definitely, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
hard. It's very hard to say, because like you want to be in good terms with everyone, and you want like to make sure that you're not let's say damaging any relationships when you're saying that. So it's you need to find the right balance when saying no. Yeah.
True. All right. Now I want to shift the angle a little bit to talk a bit more about DevRel Uni. What inspired you to start this initiative?
Yeah, it's funny. It's gonna be almost 1 year now. I remember I started this in December, in the winter break last year. I was looking myself for a developer relations community, if you want, and I couldn't really find one. And I realized, like, okay, there are like so many courses and materials for people who want to become a developer, but like not much when it comes to developer relations. So I kind of felt like, okay, there is this need that it's unfulfilled right now. And if I'm looking for something like this, there are probably more people like me who are also looking for this. And I was like, okay, I have this. I've been doing developer relations for some time now. I have the knowledge. I also have like a strong network of people in developer relations that I can cooperate with. And I was like, okay, then let's get going. I started to build the curriculum to reach out to people. And in February last year, we had the first cohort.
Nice. I really like it. So when would be the next cohort? Is there any plan in a new one coming up?
Yeah, definitely. There are more upcoming. The next cohort will be at the beginning of next year. However, I would say there is a big event for the end of this year. It's not really a cohort, but it's a big event to kind of mark the end of this year. So keep
Nice.
an eye
Looking
on our
forward.
socials.
Yep, definitely. Please, everybody, keep an eye on our social media for DevRel Uni. I'm gonna put it in the description so that everybody can follow that. A little bit longer term from that, what is the roadmap for DevRel? Like your vision, like to build DevRel Uni to a certain level.
Yeah, so basically there are two kind of goals in mind with DevRel Uni. On one side, it's helping individuals break into developer relations, but on the other side, it's also helping companies and protocols with their developer relations community. And you might have noticed that all the assignments were kind of practical, and people were kind of contributing to different protocols. So on the roadmap, and the next steps are to kind of refine these processes, to have like some partnerships are upcoming. That's super
Nice.
exciting to kind of make this connection better between the students and the different protocols out there that we're helping with DevRel Uni.
Nice, nice. Looking forward for that. Now, I have a few more questions, but before that, I think there's a questions that from the audience, and probably you want to answer first. Okay, I think should be this one. All right. Ajay was asking that, like, how can we start with basic, like what the basic that's required for us to get into the role as a DevRel?
So I would say it's really, again, it depends on what you're passionate about. We mentioned at the beginnings the four main areas like product, marketing, engineering, and the community side. So I would say if you really master any of these, you have a great chance to break into developer relations. And then for the others, like you would focus on one thing and cover a bit of the others too. But if you are really good at one of these, there's a good chance. What I would say that you have to keep in mind, you need to keep in mind that you have to be comfortable to talk to people, to be in a kind of a vibrant environment all the time. So if you don't really resonate with this, probably developer relations is not for you.
Cool. So I think that, like, like to talk people, like people, and people, I mean, like relations, right? People will definitely be the key. All right. Now, the next questions I would like to ask about is, like, how do you see the trend of DevRel? Now, why I ask this, right, is because there is, to me, I see DevRel is something that, like, very much needed, and people start to realize that the importance of a DevRel is not a very hardcore push for technology, but it's more of a pull method in bringing developer or people who love the industry, the technology, into using the technology. On the other hand, I do, there's always two school of different voices. On the other hand, that people say that, like, DevRel, like you say, being spread too thin, and people start to think that, like, probably DevRel would need to be more into marketing. So what do you see, like, the trend is going, how the environment is looking into this role of the DevRel? Any opinion coming from you?
Maybe I would start with an observation. I remember I read this recently. There's this developer relations report. They basically every year they release a new one, and I remember reading about the trend between the shift basically from developer plus companies, those are developers whose main offering is not for developers, to developer first companies. So those are companies where the main offering is intended for developers. And I think this shift towards developer first companies naturally kind of brings with it developer relations, because when your main user, if you want, your main persona, it's a developer, then you kind of need developer. You definitely need developer relations to help you build those relationships with developers, to get feedback from them, and to kind of navigate this this relationship. Yeah.
it kind of reminds me about sometimes I got feedback from some stakeholder or friends around me saying that, Ivy, would you be able to help me to talk to the developer? I do not know like how to be able to communicate or what I want with the developer. Do you think that that is where the DevRel comes in to kind of like be in between the two parties?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, but again, it really relays on all the different functions. For example, on the marketing side, if you want, why developer relations is needed, and not like you might say, like, okay, then the marketing side can do it. Why do you need developer relations? Is that you need to have basically a trusted figure, if you want, like someone developers trust and they are willing to listen to. Developers really, I think all of us really hate, but developers specifically um, have a hard time with marketing materials. So you need someone to really speak their language, let's say, and this is for marketing. But the same applies, for example, let's say, product. You need that trusted person basically who is willing to listen to the pain points of developers and basically advocate for them within the company.
Right. It's if I catch it correctly, I think credibility is also something that is very important for a developer relations. Like, what have you done? Like you mentioned, what have you done before? That's all built up as how much weight you carry in whatever you speak as a DevRel. Yeah. All right. I do have one last question. You know, um, like just now, RJ asked, like, how to start. I think that, like, how to start to get into DevRel, it always involves applying for the job. Even though if the company come and approach you, there will be the process of applying to the job. And when that is some company would have these questions asking that, like, uh, why would you want to work for us? What do you like about the company? So when this kind of questions comes up, what would your recommendations in terms of tackling questions like this?
Again, I think this is one of those questions that had no like single right answer. I would say what it helps is to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the people from the person from the other side, the person who is interviewing you, and basically think from their perspective, like why would that person want you to their team, to their company? Like think how you can basically help that person in their job, with the company. And also I think here super important is to have a genuine interest in the company itself, because if you don't believe in the product that you advocate for, then you can't basically do your job properly. You need a genuine interest in the company where you want a role in their products, and you need to be passionate about uh, that product that you're advocating for.
I think in some form, and a DevRel is kind of like an ambassador for the company or for the technology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
All right. Basically that's all I have to. I mean, it's like I want to know more about DevRel as well, and that's what I want to know about. Like, what is a DevRel? People think, and I think just now AJ asked about, like, how to start from the beginning, like, to get into the DevRel, and what he can learn to without any prior experience. Now, coming from me to answer this question is, please look out for the next cohort from the DevRel Uni, which is, like Bianca mentioned just now, it will be happening in early next year in January, I believe. So keep an eye, look out for that. And I love the cohort very much. I believe you will too. And before we end this sessions, Bianca, do you have any things to add on or any parting words for the aspiring DevRel?
I actually have a question for you. I'm curious
Oh,
what. First of all, I would like to say congrats. Like I remember you completed twice in a row the 10 days of DevRel challenge. That's a challenge we have at DevRel Uni to kind of build your content creation skills and develop that consistency. And congrats for completing that twice in a row. What was your favorite part for the DevRel Uni cohort?
my favorite part of the DevRel Uni cohort is I think knowing the people in the role and learn from everybody, because I believe that like everybody would have their strength and their uniqueness, and being able for DevRel Uni to bring along like expert in this field to share with us what they have learned from their experience. I think that is the very important part and what I value the most. So I think that like the benefits of it is not only lasting till the cohort ends, it's even further than that. Because that is like for the alumni, we do still meet up like quite frequently, like once a week, to discuss like what we want to do. Which I think that this is very important for DevRel. It is not a one-off things, because relationship is never a one-off things. It's going to be like a long-term thing. So yeah, I appreciate that kind of continuous in the relationship a lot. And I am starting and I'm still doing the 100 day of DevRel now, and I haven't break a day yet.
Oh wow! Congratulations. That's a great commitment. Thank you so much, Evie.
Thank you so much, Bianca, and I'll see you around. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming. All right.
See you. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.